Well, good morning. I probably wouldn't need this, but for the sake of those who might be watching online or who will watch later, we'll make use of these for this morning. In September of 1992, Pastor Don Richmond founded the East European Missions Network. The idea was to educate American Christians to minister alongside the remnants of Lutheran churches in former Soviet countries, where Christianity had been outlawed and punishable by imprisonment, exile, or even, in some cases, death. The network aimed to develop Christian materials, host seminars for pastors, and help build Bible schools and seminaries to assist these brothers and sisters revive Christian practice and faith. One such seminary was already getting started in the city of Tartu in the Baltic country of Estonia, so a partnership was formed. In 1993, while visiting relatives in Finland, Anne and her parents and I took a boat ride to Tallinn, Estonia, on the northern coast. This was roughly 2 years after the country had gained its independence from the Soviets, and walking around the city and looking around, it was clear that the country and its people had work to do to rebuild any number of things. At that time, however, I did not realize that Christian practice was one of those things, but God clearly knew. And thanks to the dedicated faith and hard work of Pastor Enoch Hammer and others in his family and under his guidance, the Tartu Academy of Theology is fueling some of that rebuilding, not only in Estonia, but also in neighboring countries in Eastern Europe and even in Russia. Enoch is the father of Pastor Simon Hammer, our guest today, together with Simon's nephew Matthias, who is in the fourth generation of the Hammer family carrying out Christian work in Estonia. So we welcome them in Jesus' name.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, that's true. That since 1992 already, when Tartu Academy of Theology, this Christian college, training pastors, pastoral caregivers, Christian youth workers, Christian media workers. At the time, we already got connection with the East European Missions Network. That's today Spiritual Orphans Network. And that's why we are partnering with this organization ever since. And but first of all, I'm really thankful to many of you. I don't know all of you, that I don't put together faces and names and so, but many of you have given your support also to Ukraine refugees and to support them through us. And I'm very thankful for that. That when this war started and we offered an apartment that we have at Christian Outreach Center Home of Hope to host refugees, and your help was giving actually more opportunities for us, that we received more funds, not just to help this one family, but we were giving channeling support to other Lutheran church congregations, that they could help people as well who are escaping from Ukraine. And this way we have at the moment we are supporting about 12 families. So if churches are receiving them, and they have costs, of course, because these refugees, they don't have funds to pay rent and so on, so that we are helping to cover those costs. So thankful to you for your help and your empathy toward what's happening there. But later on, I will talk a bit more about this, show pictures about these people there as well. But I have to start a little bit from the history in order to explain this work that we are doing today. So as Brian already said, that I am third generation Lutheran pastor, and Matthias is representing already fourth generation from our family doing Christian work. Matthias isn't pastor yet, but in his heart, especially, is a Christian youth work, and he is my co-worker. But we don't know what plans God is having for future with him. But we are really thankful that God have blessed our family this way, that we have continued to pass on this faith. Although in between, during 50 years after World War II, we were occupied by Soviet Union. That was really aggressive atheistic regime. But my grandfather, who was ordained, first I will just a reminder where Estonia is located. So, and we are not very far from Ukraine. That's about 1,000 miles distance. And we are working in Tartu. It's more southern part of Estonia. So my grandfather was ordained already 1929. So it means that this kind of binds about, or this our family story is almost throughout century. And my grandfather was pastoring, of course, during World War II as well. And when Russians occupied us in 1940, then persecution started also against Christians, pastors, against church. Then still my father wasn't arrested during the wartime, but he was arrested in 1948 because Russians, they prohibited to organize any youth work in the church. So you couldn't do any youth work in the church. But my grandfather didn't listen to them, and he continued to do that. And that's why he was arrested. And he spent 8 years of his life in slave labor camp in Siberia, in the prison. And that's picture made of him when he was in the prison. But he still returned and continued to serve 32 more years in the church until he died, basically from the pulpit, because 2 weeks before his death he was still preaching. So he was 81 when he passed away. But he wrote a book about his journey, about his prison years. And this book is also available in English. We have some copies of that with us here as well, but it's available in Amazon as well. We will share later all those materials so you can get this information if you would like to read that. So it's possible to get that. It's Kindle and paperback version available there. But this book isn't a dark book that you may think of, but it's actually a funny and joyful book, because the way how he's writing about these things, it's through interesting, very kind of interesting worldview or view. He still was pastor there as well. He didn't quit being a pastor, and there are interesting stories how he continued to do mission work in slave labor camp in far away of Siberia. So, but when he was arrested, there is whole family. The taller kid there is my brother, and then a younger sister and brother. That is made about a year before this picture, or a little bit before was arrested, my grandfather. But when my grandfather was arrested, then 1949, there was the big deportation in Estonia. Tens of thousands of Estonians were captured, put to the animal wagons, and sent to Siberia. Children, older people, women, whoever, all who they were able to, who were on the list. And my grandmother with children were on the list as well. But they got to know some days before that deportation is coming, and they escaped their home. And following 6 years, they were hiding themselves in forest. And at 4 years of that time, they lived really in the bunker underground. And this isn't the same bunker where they were, but it kind of gives you an imagination about the bunker underground where they lived for years. And this, you may think that if such a young boy, 13 was my father, finds himself in such kind of situation because his father was a pastor, that he may turn his back to the faith or run away from a faith. But no, that was actually the time when his faith became much, much stronger, and he grew in his faith. My father had several very difficult moments there when he was sick and was almost dying because they didn't get any medical help. That wasn't possible. And my father is telling that when they had the most difficult moments, when they kind of didn't know what happens, they didn't have food, they were starving, or their health issues were so bad that they didn't know whether they see tomorrow or not. So in these moments when you feel like these thorns or nails are touching or pressing your body like you hurt, truly, they started to sing praise songs. And that was the moment when they got this hope again, and they went on. And finally, when my grandfather returned from jail, from the prison, from Siberia, then he searched where they are, where is his family hiding, and found them, and then they were able to get back to to start their life together as a family again. But this is that story that actually kind of is carrying our activities and our life today as well. So because during 50 years, people were afraid to talk to their children about their faith. Parents didn't share their faith, grandparents didn't talk with their grandchildren because they were afraid. If children go to school and speak there that my parents are believers, so they were in trouble because teachers, they knew where to pass on this information, and they might be fired, parents might be fired from job. If young people went to confirmation, and that was kind of, someone got to know that. Most of the people did it kind of when they went to confirmation or asked to bless marriage, they made it secretly. Because if someone got to know that this young person is confirmed, then university doors were closed for him or her. So when a couple asked to bless their marriage, and then that became known, they might be fired from their job. And also one story explaining these situations during these years. We were pastors' children, so we were spoiled. There was nothing to do with us. So and pastor family was basically like excluded from society. So pastors' wives, they couldn't get any job somewhere. There was only opportunity that pastor and pastor wife, they were working together in congregation, in the church. And my mother and father, they have done this work together already 59 years. My mother has been organist, choir leader, and administrator in all these churches where they have served together. Today, my father is 87, mother 80. They still serve 3 congregations in Estonia. And I'm helping them in this. So, but then the Estonians still kind of were used to go to church at least Christmas Eve. And still, if throughout the year you didn't have many people in the church, mostly elderly people, because no, they were already retired, they didn't have anything to lose, so they were in the church mostly. And people wanted to come to Christmas Eve to the church service. But then teachers of the school in my town, they were coming in front of the church door, and they either sent students back home, or they wrote down names of the students who went to the church. And next year, they got a kind of punishment letter from the principal of the school. And if you got too many punishment letters, let's say more than 3, then you were kicked out from school. At the time, we didn't have any private school or anything like that, and that was a big problem for you. If you were kicked out from the school, you basically had no opportunity to study, or you have to find another school somewhere very far from your home or whatever. So people were afraid. But that was then, as we were pastors' children, we of course were there in the church. Nobody was saying to us that you have to go home, because no, that was nothing to do with us. But then we were letting other school children into the church from the back door. So under bell tower, there was another door, and we let them in. And from there was possible to go straight to the balcony. That was on the back side of the church, to the balcony. Then we were watching. I have 2 older brothers, younger sister, and so we were watching on the balcony rail that if there is some teacher is coming in and starts to come to the balcony, then we were sending school kids to the bell tower. And but of course they didn't go to the bell tower, these teachers, even when they came to the balcony and to see that whether someone is there. So, and that was kind of funny for us. But of course this is good, I think, good picture what was the life about during these years, and how Russians tried to do everything really to wipe out Christianity from Estonia. And that's why we actually lost 2 generations, because the most normal way to pass on your faith is through your children, grandchildren. But if parents, grandparents, they didn't talk, there was a can't. And now we are living with this problem that Estonian people do know what is their Christian identity, or where to find comfort for their spiritual problems. As before World War II, there was 90% were Lutherans in Estonia. So in the end of 80s, there was all Christians together, maybe something like 10% or less than 10%. Today we are still struggling there, something like between 10 to 15% of Christians. So it means that these 2 generations, these 50 years, made so many bad things that it takes many, many generations to change something there. Because at the same time we are facing with overall liberalization in the world. And Estonia is proclaimed to be one of the most secular countries in the world overall. So that's our task there, to change that sad history and to change the future of one nation. So but in the end of 80s, you know that there was times changed when the Soviet Union collapsed, 91. So, and there before that already there were, during some years, changing times in Eastern Europe. And in Estonia happened the singing revolution. Maybe you have heard about that. There is also a movie in English, The Singing Revolution. If you go to internet, type in The Singing Revolution, you will find a movie. And that's made for American audience. One American producer made that. So that's a great movie to see that. But I have a trailer of that here, so I will present that so you can get a kind of understanding. So, but that was The Singing Revolution. an outcome of this revolution was that we regained our independence in 91. No one was killed during this revolution. People just were coming together, they were gathering, and they were singing. And that tells something about the soul and spirit of this nation. If they are able to carry on or to do something like this, so there is something very special. But they have lost their identity. They don't know themselves why they have this kind of attitude. Now we have to remind them that again. But here is that trailer.
It was an extraordinary show of mass defiance in the Baltic region of the Soviet Union.
Whenever you give free speech to people, then things get out of hand.
All the strangers, they were just singing like one man.
If 20,000 people start to sing one song, then you just cannot shut them up. It's impossible.
I think that to have freedom through thinking was the most important thing maybe in my life.
And one time in the same singing stadium, where we are having every fourth year a big singing festivals, 35,000 people are singing under this ark, and 100,000 are watching, and so that happens every fourth year in Estonia, already since 1869. And once there in the end of 80s, there were kind of a spontaneous singing events where, of course, nobody was able to count all these people, but we think that there were about 300,000 at the same time in the same stadium there. In Estonia, we have 1.3 million inhabitants, and about 900,000 of Estonians. So it means at one time, 1/3 of the nation was present in the same place. And if this kind of things happen, army, police, they can't do anything, because they can't put 1/3 of the nation to the jail or something like that. And so that was a changing time. And when we regained our independence in 91, then my father realized now when during 50 years we weren't able to teach any pastoral caregivers or teachers for religion teachers for public schools, or Christian youth workers, Christian media workers, properly pastors we weren't able to train. We need a school to train them. And my father established Tartu Academy of Theology in 1992. And because there were 1992 8th Lutheran pastors were visiting Estonia and met my father as well, my father shared his vision, and they decided to support my father. And that's why we have connection ever since with America. And that's why we are here today as well. So because Americans are kind of guilty that this school was established and has been there over now 30 years. So, but I say that I'm a third generation Lutheran pastor, so my father is a pastor, but my two other brothers are pastors as well. Marcus on the left is the father of Matthias, and then the oldest brother, Nathan. And so this is actually first family in Estonian history among Estonians being 3 continuing generations Lutheran pastors. Now today, then I won't tell you all the story all these years, during 30 years. It's too long time to tell about everything. But I'm coming more close today, so that over the years when we had been working, we had also a dream if Tartu Academy of Theology will once get own home. We didn't have own home, we were just renting rooms in very bad shape rooms actually, that we had all these years. But we had a dream. Once we will have our own home, we don't want to have just a space or facility for classrooms and offices. We would like to establish an Christian outreach center, to gather different Christian organizations and to give them an opportunity to work together and to be more power and empower them. And this way, then we are training these people, let's say pastoral caregivers, to have a pastoral care center, as we are training Christian media workers to have there also in this setting together also Christian radio and so. But of course, to get any facility that our home, that we need much money for that, and we never had it. But then 2017, there we had we were in a situation that we had rooms that we were renting on monthly basis, but these classrooms were too small to fit all our students that we had. And we were renting additionally another rooms. So that was kind of stupid. We had rooms to pay, we were paying rent in monthly basis, but then we needed to rent additional rooms. And then I started to look around in a city where we live, where Tartu is 100,000 inhabitants, not very big, but still the second biggest city in Estonia. And maybe there is some bigger room, or maybe it's possible to find some bigger rooms with better condition. But again, there was problem that didn't find any that really meets our needs. Again, if you have bigger and better rooms, you have to pay much more rent. So we didn't have funds for that as well. And then I thought that maybe there is some kind of new real estate development where we can be already part of this planning process and to say, okay, we would like to rent these kind of rooms, but could you make walls and everything according to our needs? And once it's built up, we will be renting that. Then I went to speak with one owner of one real estate development. He didn't like that idea very much because that's kind of risky to do this way. But he offered that, okay, that I can ask my architects to make drawings of this kind of certain space according to your needs and your vision. And then you can put together your vision and everything and to introduce that And if we are able to get funds, then we are able to go on with this project. I made it, and in the end of April 2018, I was in Minneapolis. I was presenting a group of people, 15 to 20 were there people, this vision. And our first goal was to get during 6 weeks, $125,000 in order to make down payment. And we raised this money in 6 weeks. When I started this project, we didn't have any funds. I put in $100 myself, and that was as a seed money. Nothing before. And in 6 weeks, we had down payment money. So I kind of saw that their God is giving signs, and it was needful to follow these steps and to make these steps in faith. So I gave signature to the contract with quite many zeros, quite many numbers, because whole project is about 2 million. I didn't have a clue where I get the rest of those funds, but I just went on. And 2nd of December 2019, this outreach center, Home of Hope, was dedicated. At the time, of course, we didn't have all these funds. We had raised during this year and a half about $450,000, but we took out quite big mortgage loan, and so now we just have to continue our fundraiser to get mortgage loan paid. And now, a bit more than during 4 years, we have raised 1 million. So we have just last 50% to go. I'm hoping that now more people are also encouraged, because I have received pretty many questions in the beginning of this fundraiser and all this, that, okay, when I'm giving my $100, what happens with my money if you are not able to get your goal? I say that that's not an option. And I think that I have already kind of proved that in 4 years to raise 50%, already 1 million we have raised. And today, Home of Hope is located there. It's ground floor, only ground floor of this building, not whole building. We don't own whole building. This is there are condominiums in this building. There is about 50 condos, and people own all those condos there. And my idea was also that I didn't want to build own house, because if you have own house, and I think Americans know very well, because mostly you are living in private houses, so that you have to take care of maintenance costs by yourself and to maintain everything there. But with such a big building, so there is a formed owner society, and the owner society is taking care of maintenance problems and maintenance costs as well. We are sharing all those costs. This is much more wise use of those funds that we have, these giving funds, and much more cheaper as well, so that we can actually use those funds more for actual mission work. I didn't want to hire anyone to do, let's say, maintenance, to deal with maintenance problems, and so that's no need. There is no need for that. If there are some kind of problems in our room, so I'm fixing these myself. I'm a plumber, and so if it's needful. And this is entrance to our rooms, to our facility, and that's at nighttime. And all this development is that's new development. When we started, there was just like this big house was just built up, and that our house wasn't yet. That's why we were able to be part in the planning process already. So that's our house is there on the left side, this one. So we are here at the ground floor, and from here across the street is St. Paul Lutheran Church. This is the church where my grandfather served when he was arrested. He was pastor in this church. after he came back from Siberia, authorities didn't let him to be a pastor of city church. They sent him to the smallest rural congregation. But so it means that this is very meaningful area and place for me, that we are just across the street from where my grandfather served once. So there is so many kind of pieces in this story that is telling to me how God is seeing things, how God has the big picture. And once I'm starting to realize that how this big picture is formed. And that's a great experience once you start to see that. But there is one great story that I have to tell you. As I said, that we had a dream to get our own home. And we had this dream already in the beginning of 90s when we started Tartu Academy. 1995, there was one building in quite center of the city, downtown of Tartu, that we were hoping to buy and to renovate this building. At the time, it didn't look so nice. There wasn't any roof, and so that was quite bad shape. We had some promises stateside as well from US to get funding for this. And 4th of July, 1995, it's your Independence Day. And we were celebrating a start of construction work. And we had a consecration ceremony there. And memorizing this event, we were putting a plaque to the wall where this yellow arrow is pointing. This plaque to the wall of this building. And there was written, Psalm 127, first verse, when Lord is not building the house, laborers are laboring in vain. As we didn't get those promised funds, we were not able to go on with this project. We lost this building, this project, and we went on. But this plaque stayed there for years. And then I heard, our students came to talk to me that, that people in the city are mocking you because there is plaque, there's God's word there, and the building in ruins. So, God ran out. They made jokes. God ran out of money, and stupid Christians, they are trusting the Lord. So you see what happens when you trust Lord. It's just house in ruins. That was a bad feeling, and I thought that I should go late night when it's dark, go and knock it down. But I understood that I can't do that because that's God's word there. Sometimes we as humans, we are quite impatient. And we think that things should be going as we want them to go and to be. But God may have different opinion. And sometimes we are not listening too well God's word and what God wants to tell us. We have to be patient. If that's there, we had consecration ceremony. That was blessed. There is a meaning. And I had feeling that one day, I don't know whether the same building will be built or maybe some other building, but this plaque will have the right spot one day. This plaque stayed there for 17 years. Finally, 2012, the owner of that house called me and asked that whether he could take this plaque down because they finally started to renovate this. And now this is just an apartment building. And so I gave permission, and I took it to my office and just let it be there, because I knew that when the right time comes, then God will give signs. And beginning of 2018, I started to see these signs, and I understood that now this plaque comes alive. And I followed those steps. Today, this plaque, it's there. There is entrance to our facility, Home of Hope Outreach Center, and that's there where everyone who enters sees that plaque. And this is our testimony, all people who are coming there, that God's word is trustworthy. Even if people are mocking, it doesn't matter. We have to be patient and we have to be trustful to the Lord. And there will be coming times when He will show you the real purpose of these actions that we have done. And there is, so this is that plaque, and there is written this story that I was telling you in Estonian. So everyone who comes is able to read that story. And that's our testimony. And below that, there are names of all our donors, churches and private persons who have, our major donors who have given at least $10,000 for this outreach center. And there is quite a lot of room still. And as we are continuing to fundraise for that, and there is another place where we have all names of all donors written down there in this facility. This is another place, just opposite of chapel. But, and actually now there have been even people visiting our rooms who once mocked us because they saw that plaque on the wall. And now they have given confession or confessed to me that, yeah, they were ones who were mocking. And one of them is today pastor. Yeah. So, you never know how things are going. So, but why we started this Home of Hope was really like we saw that either now when we had so poor facilities, either now we kind of have to finish our activities in Tartu there, like because we didn't have anything to offer with these rooms. And, or we make a great step, like a leap of faith. And as we made it, now we have experienced that how important actually are also rooms and facilities doing Christian mission work. That what we have got now is even over our expectations that we had. We started 2020 a Bible school there, vocational Bible school, in addition to our bachelor and master degree studies that we carry on together with Lutheran Church Seminary. So 2013 we were merged with Lutheran Church Seminary because in Estonia there is a very tough accreditation system. Both of us, we were not able to get accreditation. But in Estonia, if you're in university or higher education school, you have to have accreditation. You can't exist anywhere otherwise. So that's why we are carrying on these studies together, and that's very good cooperation. But we thought that we felt that there is a need to start vocational Bible school as well. And we are thinking that, okay, if we will get 20 people, we will start, and 30, it's good. First year, we got 110. And today, we started third year, just in September, altogether, during 3 years, we have had 200 now. So there are just, let's say, regular people who don't want to study 3-4 years and to get bachelor and a master, but they just want to learn more about Bible. And there is one great story with this lady, that she came 2020 to Bible school, and she was baptized about 25 years ago and confirmed, but she never went to church after that. She lost. She didn't have any contacts during 25 years with her church. But she heard our advertisement about this Bible school and came to the Bible school. And my father gave lesson there as well. And that was so meaningful to her that next Sunday she was in my father's church. And she kept coming. She brought her sister, her daughter, her sister, her mother, her boyfriend, her friends, relatives. And finally, a year later, in August, there were 8 adults confirmed and 5 children baptized because of this one lady who came to the Bible school. And that's Musta church where my father is serving. Church in Musta. So then as I said, we have bachelor and a master degree studies at the moment, 132 students together with Lutheran Church Seminary. Then we have Christian radio in Home of Hope Outreach Center that is broadcasting also in Russian, far away to Russia, even to Ukraine. So goes that they're broadcast in Russian. But they are doing, of course, main program is in Estonia. And my father is there. My father is having his own monthly program there as well in this radio station. And they have several other studios in some other places in Estonia as well, but main studio is in our rooms. So that's not established by us, this radio station, but this is where we have prepared workers as we carried on Christian media studies, so that many of our alumni are working there, and we have very good cooperation, and we are very happy that now they are in our rooms. So there is their main studio and office, and in our server room is their server as well. So this is, then we have pastoral care center there. And during COVID, when there wasn't possible to meet in person inside, then we started to organize, to have a pastoral caregiver walking sessions in the city. And that was very popular. So you can't meet inside, you meet outside, and you walk with people around the city and talk. But as well, Ministry of Social Affairs found out when there was COVID, so stress level high, anxiety high, people are isolated, social distancing, and now we need pastoral care telephone line in Estonia. And they asked me to run that. They gave full funding, and since June 2020, there have been pastoral care telephone line helpline 24/7. I was able to hire 15 of our alumni, because we have trained them already 30 years, pastoral caregivers. I had this network already. And we have had about 1,000 calls per month. So, and mostly are calling non-Christians. So that's really amazing that how COVID actually was giving us new opportunities that we couldn't expect to have. So that's a pastoral care center there, and 2021 also government funded that to offer pastoral care for these people who are receiving home care nursing service. So that 2021 also additional 15 pastoral caregivers around Estonia were helping people. Then we have a Christian youth work there, and I have been speaking quite a lot. Meanwhile, Matthias will be speaking, because that's Matthias' task to take care of Christian youth work there.
Yeah, hi. I do a lot of youth work at the outreach center. It's I have been doing it for quite a while, and actually that's kind of the reason why Simon asked me to join as well, is because he knew that I was dealing with all this youth work, and I think that's what made him call me. But
one of the reasons. Not the main reason. One of the reasons.
But I do really enjoy doing youth work, and this is actually one of my passions. And we have, at the moment, we have 3 events going on there. There's like youth evening, youth gathering, then there's worship and prayer night, and board games. COVID wasn't so good for us, so the board games night has been put aside for a moment, just to see whether we can actually reboot it and try to get on with it again. Worship nights are going really well. I think they're the most fun, and I'm serving there with my wife as well, doing worship there. So it's really fun, and our kind of like, I would say, our main event, youth gatherings, youth evenings, they are lumping one leg as well. It's we see that after COVID, not a lot of people came back, and since I had a little bit time to think about youth work and all this situation that we have at the moment at Home of Hope during summer, then I think that we have to go and do more youth work at social media. It's really bad. Both of us are not fan of social media, so it's not a good task for us. But we have to do it because that's the place where youth are at the moment. So we try to find ways to do actual youth work there, not only to promote our events there, that's what we do at the moment, but to actually give Christian knowledge there, to have them in our reach so that we could actually influence them as well. So we think about having like 1-minute Bible studies. We have quite good and youthful pastor just at St. Paul's. So we talk with him, so that maybe he would be the presenter for this 1-minute Bible study, and he was really eager to do that. So
And young people are asking questions.
yeah. So how we get this input, like what kind of questions to answer there. We're trying to form a table of young people and get their questions and their thoughts, and then try to respond to these questions. So yeah, and one thing that is really fun as well, we did a youth conference because me and my friends sat down. We do a lot of work and events for younger people, but we discovered that we don't have that many events for ourselves, for young adults. So we thought, why not do so? And so yeah, this is a picture from the conference, and we just it's about juggling between different tasks. So young people want to do everything, want to be everywhere, want to be best at everything, and this can lead to burnout or these kind of things and mental illnesses. So we thought that we would like to prevent these illnesses or situations to happen. So and we tried to equip them with mindsets and all this, I don't know, how to use time and all these things, so that they wouldn't be burned out. And we have started just planning the next year's conference, and it's so nice that we put that on hold after the conference for a few months, and now that we regrouped ourselves, it's like right away the spark was there, and I can see that it's so meaningful. It's so meaningful for me, and it's so meaningful for my friends and all the other young adults that get influenced by it.
Okay.
Yes,
Good.
thank you.
I see that's really good camera setting. I look taller than him even.
That's not fair.
Good.
That's not fair.
Good job.
Wait. Let the people
Oh,
on the internet
that's not
see.
true.
All right.
That's true. So, spiritual mentoring is also kind of important for us. Pastors' meeting happened there, and we try to gather pastors also to support them in their work. So that's very important that pastors find kind of place where to be together. So that's chapel that we have there. That's kind of the center of this space. And so as I promised to talk more about these Ukraine refugees there as well, so that we have there quite small guest apartment, about 400 square feet. And in March, we got first family there, So there's three sisters there, and that's their brother. And there were 7 people in such a small space. So they were lived there for about 2 weeks, but their own communication kind of suffered also. Then I found another apartment for 3 sisters to live for. And then this family stayed, but this man was called to soon back to, in April already, back to Ukraine, was mobilized to the army. And actually in August he came back. He got 30 days leave, vacation. and they moved on to Germany. And they are hoping to actually to get to the U.S. because this husband is having that his grandmother is living here. But then we got another family, or another refugees there. So this is a lady with her older mother, and actually now they, as this previous family, were from north Ukraine, close to Belarusian border, and they were living just next to one military base. And that's why they were afraid, really, because Russians, they were bombing these military bases, and very randomly, and their bombs are not very accurate. So, and that's why they didn't they didn't want to go back. They went on to Germany and so. But this family, they are from Severodonetsk, but it's still occupied. And but their problem is really that their house is bombed and nowhere to go back at the moment. So we don't know actually really how long all that goes, how long they need help, but we really understand that our duty is to help them, because we have experienced these things during World War II and during occupation, and that's strategic, or that strategy that we really see that the same things that Russians did during World War II and after that, when we were under occupation, they do the same things today. And we have experienced that. We know how is this life about. And we really want to do our best to help Ukraine to get freedom back. And we are helping them, that's why. And Estonians overall do help very lot. Even actually Estonia is the country that is helping the most per capita Ukrainians in the world. And I'm very thankful that you have been part of that. And because of your giving, I have been able to help actually not only 2 families, but more. But this lady has one church in Tartu opened a daycare for Ukrainian children. And she used to be a principal of kindergarten. So she's working there now already. So she got the job. And so we have their server room, where is this radio server and the Estonia Bible server as well. And then the goal when I was planning this wasn't just like that. I was planning the rooms in a way that we could earn good rental income. We could rent out those rooms for different seminars, trainings, conferences, and to earn income. First, cover all maintenance costs with this rent, and then also to have a profit. Although there has been COVID, we have been able to get 35,000 annual rental income. We cover easily all maintenance costs with that, and there is also more. But our goal is really to earn 50,000 annually. And now we see already in spring, when restrictions were taken down, and especially now in autumn, we have quite many rental, and basically daily we get new kind of questions about rental opportunities. So, and we are really kind of filling the market. These people who are coming to rent have said that there isn't such a place in Tartu where there is let's say, one bigger room, main classroom, that's there fits 80, but we can split this classroom with a removable wall as well. 2/3, 1/3. So then we have one bit smaller classroom, then we have small classroom, Then we have this room where their pastors were sitting. It's like a reading room, but this is connected with main hall, and there is possible to close with glass wall and that's soundproof then, so that we can offer several places. And actually this week we had 3 events at the same time. So one biggest classroom, there were 40, so a little bit smaller, there were 12 people, and the small classroom were 6, 7 people. 3 different events. But we were able to, this way we got very good rental income during one day, even. And so that's how this is working. But at the same time, as we have together these different Christian activities, so we have this pastoral care center, then a radio station. Oh, it was great. This year now, Tartu city government is funding or is covering costs for Tartu citizens, 100 hours per month pastoral caregiver sessions. If people, Tartu citizens, are coming to our pastoral care center and meet with pastoral caregiver, then they don't have to pay, but city government pays to us for that. 100 hours per month. And that's such a thing that we couldn't expect. But this kind of things will happen. But all that we have these rooms, that's an opportunity to do that work. And if we are renting out these rooms for regular, let's say, non-Christians, no, we don't ask, oh, you can enter only when you are Christian. No, we didn't do that, absolutely. And when they come there, they see that plaque there, they can read the story. And that's also kind of drops that are dropping into giving them kind of understanding about things, where maybe they could find their answer to their spiritual quests. Yeah, always that. So, and today it is so that we have raised a bit over $1 million, and the whole project is 2.2 million. And now final date of mortgage loan is in November 2024. I've asked myself such short period, because as longer period, the more you pay interest. So, and now we really need help, whoever can help us to get it done. Because at the moment we spend quite a lot of energy and time for this fundraiser, but we would like to spend our energy and time more to mission work, to real mission work there. And if you are able to help, we are very thankful. But there is one important thing with this loan, this mortgage, that there was 2019, when already building was built, and there work started inside and whatever. I saw that, okay, probably it's not possible to raise all these funds during a year and a half. And I started to search opportunities that how we would be able to get a mortgage loan. I asked bank, and bank said, okay, that's high risk, so you will get about close to 30% interest, they were asked. So that it's so high risk. And basically that was like, it's not possible to get loan from there. But then there was, just before that, and that's also God's guidance, happened that Estonian Lutheran Church, that was long time, many years, a court case. There was one church in Tallinn, in the old town, that Lutheran church, that was taken from Lutheran church during Soviet time, and Lutheran church wanted to get it back. But the Estonian government didn't want to give it back because there was a great museum in this church, really great museum. And finally they got kind of agreement, found common agreement, and government paid about 6 million euros to the church as a compensation for this church. I knew that church is not planning to just spend that money quickly, but they tried to use that wisely. And then I asked that, could you give a loan for us? We pay back, because they really wanted to keep that money also to fund different kind of, let's say, when somewhere new church will be built, so they are able to give this money, and then again to get it back and to fund new project. At the same time, I knew that I can't ask any donation, because, in Estonia, pastors are receiving very small salary. Pretty often, just like $500 per month. That means they have to work, they have to have another job in order to earn a living. That would have been good to use that money to give them a little bit better life. So, and then it would have been very hard for me to listen to the eyes of my colleagues once they get to know that, okay, the church gave this money to me to build up this kind of center, nice center in Tartu, but what happens with these churches? And we have these old medieval time churches, very big, some of them in very bad shape. So the 6 million is like, you could use like that just for one church to renovate that, and that's even not enough. That's why I knew that I can't ask donation, but I have to do my best to support church this way. So I will get those funds. I'm able to establish this outreach center that is helping church work in a different ways and in a very unique ways that we haven't in Estonia yet, haven't had in Estonia yet. And at the same time, I asked then interest 5%. I asked that myself. I compared 30 or 5%, that's basically nothing. I got 5%, I got such a period that I was asking. And the church decided that with this interest that they are getting, first thing is, they are using that money to publish new hymnal. And they use that money for church youth work. So it means that even if we pay interest, and if even people, when they are donating us, and okay, this money goes to pay interest, that's not going to banker's pocket. But that goes all to the church work. That is reinvested to the church work. And at the same time, when we will pay back all this mortgage, church will have funds to give money to another, this kind of project that is helping church life in Estonia. So it means that giving for that has a really multiplying effect. One thing is that we will get it done, and the church will get money back. At the same time, different church activities will get funded. So that's, the kind of part of the big picture that the Lord is foreseeing. So I'm really thankful if you are willing and that if you are able to help us, and this is meaningful to us that we have quite a lot. We have many friends here and also partnering congregations, and several of them have been already long-time supporters, and I really see, and that's my conviction, that once being connected with mission somewhere, if you are just supporting short time or once or whatever, so actually you can't expect any good results, because on mission field nothing happens in a short period of time. And this long-time partnership really gives a good goal, or kind of this way you are able to gain and see results. And I think that's truly important. And I'm very happy that we have had this long-time partnership with people in America as well. And if you would like to be part of that, then I'm happy and thankful for that. So, do you have any questions? Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Boy Scouts in Estonia are absolutely not affiliated with Boy Scouts in America. So we have our own Boy Scouts Scout organization. I have been Chief Scout of Estonian Boy Scout organization as well. I was 90s, since middle of 90s, 15 years in the board, and 4 years of that time Chief Scout. So I'm currently a Scout leader as well. And that's why there is, and actually during 90s especially, Scouting was one way how to do church youth work in Estonia, quite a lot. And that's why we do that. And yeah, at the moment, I made the Scout troop for my son. My son is already 21, and actually he's studying in South Dakota, in the University of South Dakota in Vermilion, because he's pole vaulter, and he got very good scholarship there. He's one, in his age group, he's among 5 best in the world. And so he's training there together with America's best pole vaulter, Chris Nielsen. I don't know how much you know about track and field, so you are more in football and basketball. But track and field is, for me, it's a topic. It's a top thing. Yeah, that was so that we got first funding for this pastoral care telephone line for 1 year, 2020. So then additionally, as there was nobody could expect that there are so many people will be calling, 1,000 calls per month, and twice as many were calls that we were not able to get in because one person was working at a time, and when the line is in use, you can't get in. So they continued funding 2021. And that was all because of COVID. That was like a special funding. And we knew when COVID crisis is over, then it's kind of difficult for Minister of Social Affairs also to give funds for us as a non-profit organization, not connected with government, and that might be a situation that this will be just finished. And our expectation was also that would be better if we are able to transfer that to the structure of Ministry of Social Affairs. Then that will get kind of a long time existence. And so that was in this spring, then I handed that or gave over to the Ministry of Social Affairs, and they continued, but they hired our alumni there as well, so that our alumni are continuing to work there. But what was interesting with this, was that as pastoral care telephone line is not only helpline. So we have, for example, also victims helpline. And these people who are, they are in trouble, they want to talk with someone. And then if they are not able to get on hold or not to get through in our line, so they called to other helplines. And then when they were calling there, people were asking to pray for them. But of course, these people there couldn't pray for them. And that was interesting, that people who are not Christians, not connected with church anyhow, so they are talking to you, even in this talk, they don't have any, let's say, topics about their faith or anything. But it was good to recognize that so many people were asking to pray for them in the end of that talk. And that's kind of interesting turn that has happened as well. So I think that is having a great influence in Estonian society as well, because this telephone line is so popular that nobody couldn't expect that. And we understand that people have said that we don't want to speak with psychologists, but they want to speak with pastoral caregivers. And even happened that because of this one other project that we had, that we were offering pastoral care for these people who were receiving home care nursing service, in some local governments happened, they were hiring before psychologists for people in their area, but now they replace psychologists with pastoral caregiver. Because people didn't want to speak with psychologists, but they found more use and they were more open to speak with pastoral caregiver. So, and now there is that, of course, talking is one, but seeing is another. So there Matthias is sharing later on we will give you, this is all information about, shortly taken together, this about Home of Hope. And there is also this October newsletter, so you can read here about different activities and about these Ukraine refugees as well. And we have some these books with us as well, but we have a cards, also postcards, where is this written that how to get this from Amazon as well. So that's easy to get from Amazon, these books as well. But I am, if you would like to receive information about our life updates also in the future, so you are welcome to sign up there. You can certainly write your name, and if you have email address, and you can write also postal address, because maximum twice a year we try to send by post as well, because pretty often I have recognized that people, when they write down their emails, I'm sending at least once per month. If you haven't received anything in a month, you know that there is some kind of trouble. Your server is blocking my mails. They go to spam box. Pretty often that's the case how that happens, that my emails ending up in spam box. So you just have to check that, but because of that we are sending also twice a year by regular mail, just in case. So you're welcome to sign up so we can keep you updated. And yeah.
When we joined LCHC in 2010, we had to make decisions about how to manage our benevolence. And through the years we've done that and supported any number of different ministries. That list of those that are supported can be found in the hallway. Of course, there's a glass and case bulletin board that shows all the different ministries. Oh, I suppose for online, of course. Okay, I won't go all the way back to the beginning, but at any rate, our benevolence giving supports quite a few different ministries, which you can find in the hallway. And one of those ministries was East European Mission Network, which is now Spiritual Orphans Network. I believe it is quarterly that the Spiritual Orphans Network gets a percentage of our benevolence giving. So the Tartu Academy of Theology is affiliated with Spiritual Orphans Network, but not all of the money we send to Spiritual Orphans will go to Tartu. So you can consider establishing a giving relationship with the Tartu Academy or Home of Hope. They're kind of the same ministry or associated ministries. And
yeah, I have to
also,
say that Tartu Academy of Theology is a non-profit organization that owns this Christian Outreach Center. Yeah.
Great. And in January, of course, at our annual meeting is when we determine all the different ministries that our benevolence giving will support. So if you wanted to, if we continue Spiritual Orphans Network, but maybe place Tartu Academy along that list too. So you can take a look at that list if you haven't before, and you probably will also find some of the regular emails from Tartu in that glass encased bulletin board or some of the other boards, because I try to keep those communications updated as they come in. Sure, I thought about that too. We didn't do that last night. I thought, well, should we take them out to the camp?
How far it is?
Oh, 6 miles.
Okay.
So
because
quite
we are
close.
driving from here to Lee, Illinois.
Yeah,
And
their
we
way
have to be
Illinois.
there about 5:30, something like that.
We do have some refreshments in the parish hall, and you can have some more time for conversation with Simon and Matthias if you have further questions or would just like to talk more. So before we go in there, I'd like to pray once more, and we'll adjourn to the parish hall. Let's pray. Gracious God, we thank you and praise you for the big plans you have for our lives and for your mission in the world. We thank you for these brothers that have come from a great distance and the work that they are doing. We ask you to continue to bless that work and to bring the faith back to vibrancy and strength in their country and throughout Eastern Europe and indeed in our own land. Bless the gifts that we now receive from your hand, and bless us to your continued service. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Actually, I forgot to show 1 minute video that is kind of gives you an overview about this outreach center there. I will show quickly that video as well. Then it's like a kind of it's kind of dark. It was quite dark there, but yeah, if you go to our website, there is much more different videos, so you can find all information from our website. Yeah, that's written here as well on the first page is there. So. Thank you very much. So, and if you are interested about the book, so that's an opportunity. So it's volunteer giving.